Thank you to Thriller Fest 2020, the virtual version. This is JH and also we have.
I'm Raymond Benson. Hi, everybody.
Today we're going to talk about how to write a story outside of your comfort zone. We thought this was an interesting topic, and it's something that both Raymond and I have a certain experience in it, right, Raymond?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I'm probably most well known for writing the James Bond novels 20 years ago, and I'm an American, so I was out of my comfort zone right there. What about you, Jose?
Well, growing up in a little country in Central America like Honduras, I had to write all my novels in different settings. And so that was a lot of writing outside my comfort zone in places that I never been to begin with, and writing with characters that were not my actual race. I had to write with women. I have to write as white people and also like Native Americans. I have the whole sort of characters in my books that are not necessarily just like me.
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, a lot of writers, they set their stories where they live or where they have lived. Like my original books, not my Bond books, but my original thrillers, I've always set in places where I've lived, like in Texas or New York or Illinois, or places that I've spent a lot of time in, like Los Angeles or London. And a comfort zone character is a lot like yourself, the same gender, the same race. When you don't do that, the characters you're writing are outside your comfort zone. Like I mentioned, the whole Bond thing was, I had to get used to writing British. I had to actually write in the British spellings and all that.
Saying lift instead of elevator or lorry instead of truck. Like
Exactly. And I got the hang of it by the third book, but I spent a lot of time in England too, and the Ian Fleming people were also great editors. They would vet it really well and go, oh, you slipped up on that sentence there.
Yeah. The thing is that after you write the first time outside your comfort zone, I always thought that you get used to it, and then that becomes your new comfort zone as you write more and more into that. So it's something like you can grow into it, and it's just difficult the first time around.
Well, yeah, I mean, 12 of my novels, of my original novels, they all have female protagonists. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so this write what you know phrase, what does that really mean? And is that a call to research?
I always thought of that because if I write just what I know, it'll be boring, by the way. I mean, I used to work in garment manufacturing, and I used to work, and I wanted to write novels that were way outside of where I live or what I do for a living, for a day job. So yeah, to me, I call that as I took it as a call to action, to investigate, to, like I said, if I wanted to set my novel in Frankfurt, like I did for Aaron Evil, I had to study what the city was like and talk to people who had been there and, do the homework, like you said.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you have to be an astronaut to write about space travel? Do you have to be a boxer to write a story about prize fighting? Do you have to be a woman to write a convincing female protagonist? Not if you do your homework. You have to immerse yourself in the settings and the subjects you plan to write about, and that includes the characters. Now, like I said, I have been writing female characters, and, how do I do it? To tell you the truth, I don't know. I just do it. Now, maybe I'm channeling my feminine side, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But, I've been married for over 30 years. My wife is a great reader. She's a book club person, and she reads she's my best beta reader. She reads all my books first. And, believe me, she'll tell me if I got something wrong about a female protagonist, And, there's a lot of women writers who write male characters. The great Ruth Rendell did 50 years writing Inspector Wexford, and did it convincingly. It can be done.
J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter only from his point of view, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Do you have to be a kid to write a young adult novel? Most young adult novels are written by adults.
Yes, that's right.
So in the
So
case, yeah,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say like if it is a call to investigate, this is something that to do the research. And I don't know, I have some with I don't have as many novels as you, but with the 7 that I've written, I had some really fun experiences doing the research. And one thing that I've discovered is that whenever you interview somebody and you reach out to somebody and ask, hey, I'm writing a book about this and this and this, most people would love to tell you, would love to answer your questions, and they would really open up to you. And it's easier. I mean, I thought I was nervous to ask people around. And for one of my books, I visited the city of New Orleans. It's a serial killer set in that city. And I had to talk to a cop. And I was nervous to talk to a cop discussing how I wanted to kill people. But he was really nice about it. He gave me all the protocols that they follow when they do an investigations and how the setup of the precincts are in the city. And he was really nice about it. Have you had any sort of
Oh yeah. Well, when I was doing Bond, I traveled to all my locations that I wrote about, and I stayed in Bond's hotels. I ate his food. I walked the steps of I outlined. I'm a big outliner. I'm one of the outliners, as opposed to I'm a plotter as opposed to a pantser, and
yeah, me too.
and I outlined the whole story prior to the trip, and so I would go to all the places I picked out to be locations. And if I had to change something on the fly, I would. But, I had to write a lot of different characters for those books. British characters, lots of different ethnicities and culture, women who aren't two-dimensional. There was a supporting character in one of my books that was a Gurkha. And these are the soldiers from Nepal who serve in the British Army. And I spent a whole day at the Gurkha regiment in England interviewing the Gurkhas. And their commanding officer, and looking through scrapbooks, and they're showing that they were all very eager and happy to talk to me. I had a recent book a couple of years ago, In the Hush of the Night, that's a FBI procedural that takes place in Chicago, and my main character was the female FBI agent who is in charge of human trafficking in Chicago. And I reached out to the FBI. I said, I'm doing this book. Is there somebody I can interview? And they put me in touch with the person in charge of human trafficking in Chicago. And thank goodness it was a woman. And I got to spend the whole day with her and kind of go through her day and see her office and what her car was and her, her weapon and, what her day-to-day stuff was like. And you know what? She said she would beta read my book when I finished it. Wow. And she did, and she checked everything for accuracy, and so it was a godsend.
Absolutely. I remember that when the first time I went to New York, I visited a museum and I fell in love with this aircraft, the Concorde. And I decided as a goal that I wanted to write a novel that included a flight aboard the Concorde. And I did that for my last novel. It's still not published. But when I started doing the research, the Concorde doesn't fly anymore. So the last flight was in 2003. So I had to do a lot of research and find out who had flown in there and tell me their experiences. How different does it feel from sonic flight versus the regular aircraft? And it was funny that I had to reach out to 2 people. One of them was a former president of my country. People were surprised that I managed to contact through several people, and I got in touch with the former president of Honduras, and I got to interview him. Well, he sat with me twice. The first time he didn't know what I was doing, and so I brought him to my books. He read the books, and then he called me, and then I visited him to his office, and we spoke for like 2 hours about what it felt to fly aboard the Concorde. And the other person that I interviewed is Fred Finn, and he has the Guinness World Record for more flights aboard the Concorde, 718. So you meet interesting people in this profession. This is one of the things that I like too.
Yeah. Well, what has been your hardest writing experience?
Well, my writing experience, the hardest one was one time when I had to write a character that it died on the next paragraph. It was a really out-of-body experience. I actually felt sad that this was the setup. There was like sort of a prologue of the story, and he was setting up a trip, and I knew that he would not come back from that trip, and that really got to me. It was really hard, and the hardest part about that writing in particular is that my editor made me cut it afterwards. Before the book was published, that scene, it ended up on the editing floor. So it was hard for two reasons, because it was hard to write, and then it was hard to cut it off later on.
Well, you know, I say that all books are hard. You know, every book is hard to write. But I can easily say my most recent book, Blues in the Dark, was the most difficult book I ever wrote. It was really difficult. You know, it's a Hollywood story that takes place in the past, in the 1940s, and in the present. And when I first outlined, the story evolved in that I suddenly realized I had to have a major black character. There's a white woman in the 40s who's has a relationship with a black musician, and that then necessitated that my main protagonist was a female biracial person. So that's about as out of your comfort zone as you can get. I actually wondered if I should go ahead and do the book, but I was really committed to the story. It was a story I wanted to tell. I'm a big film history buff. I teach film history. I've been teaching college film history for many, many years. So that part of it, you know, the whole Hollywood history part was second nature to me. But getting into the whole racial aspect of Hollywood was a challenge. So I did interview and talk to several African-American friends, both male and female. And I did take a trip to the West Adams Heights area of Hollywood. And that's where in the 40s, the black celebrities lived, like Hattie McDaniel and Louise Beavers. And I saw their houses and that kind of thing, and interviewed people there. So yeah, getting that right was tough, and thank goodness I had some friends who were willing to beta read and give me advice and make suggestions, and I'm grateful to all those people.
Well, I like that novel, but maybe I'm biased because you name a character after me in that one. But
that's right, I did. Jose, he's a lawyer in Honduras that advises
exactly.
the protagonist. That's right.
Yeah. At least I made it out of the book alive, so I didn't die.
That's right.
That was a good thing.
So what advice would you give to writers who want to write outside their comfort zone?
Well, to not be afraid to ask for favors and search within your network to see what people you know and who they know, to get you in touch with the people that you need to talk to figure out how to write or what to write. And that's and writing can be a lonely profession, but that's lonely when you only sit and write. But the other part of writing, when you do the research, it's not lonely at all. It's actually better if you don't do it by yourself. And so the advice is, don't be afraid to ask for help, and people will be glad to help you. I mean, people still, that it's, I don't know, it has this aura of people like to help writers. I don't know I don't know exactly why. I couldn't pinpoint it, but
you could also, you know, offer to pay them or take them out to a nice dinner, or, you know, but you're right. You know, most people I've found who are experts in the field, you know, they're flattered that they get asked, you know. With Blues in the Dark, you know, Skyhorse, my publisher at the time, last year, they were very helpful, and they were very sensitive to my challenge in this story. And so they hired what they call a sensitivity reader, you know, and they read for, you know, to make sure you got the racial stuff right. And I welcomed it. You know, I said, yes, please, by all means, if you're if you're willing to do it, please, I want you to do it. And I considered all the feedback, and you know, it was very helpful, and accept that kind of stuff. So you know, ask your publishers for that kind of thing if you really are writing characters that aren't you. You know, Lee Child, we know Lee Child. He was a British guy writing about an American former military cop. Was Jack Reacher in Lee's comfort zone? Probably not when he first started, but boy, I think Lee Child became Jack Reacher, if you ask me.
At some point, yeah. And he's the modern version of Don Quixote, I think.
Yeah.
Except that he's not crazy.
Right, exactly. So in my opinion, every writer writes outside their comfort zone. I think comfort zone, we don't need no stinking comfort zone.
What is that? Yeah, absolutely. I was reading the last book by Tom Clancy, the one of the recent one, and then I had to read his biography, and I discovered that he wasn't in the military at all. He was just literary. He had a major in literature, and he worked in insurance.
Yeah. No, he was an enthusiast. He was
exactly,
a military enthusiast. Yeah.
I do think he was in the ROTC, but I'm not sure. But that was definitely outside his comfort zone, and he reinvented the techno thriller.
Yep.
Genre. So it can be done.
Yeah.
Basically. All right. That's it for us. Thank you very much for watching, and we really hope to see you next year.
Jose, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, they can find you on my website at www.jhbogran.com. And of course, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and whatever books are sold.
Right. And I'm at raymondbenson.com and Facebook and Twitter and
all the social media available.
All of the above.
All right. Have you gone into TikTok yet?
No.
Yeah.
No, I've seen that around. I've just ignored it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out Twitter.
Oh yeah, it's kind of a scary place.
Yeah, it is.
These days.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We really hope to see you next year in New York for the Thriller Fest 2021.
All right. Stay safe. Be well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.